Hey everyone, I hope you guys are enjoying Monster Hunter in whichever fashion you're choosing to play it as. And today I wanted to go over one of two separate leaks video regarding Monster Hunter Now, as we have finally gotten some more confirmation regarding major updates that are heading into the game as part of not just eventual subsequential, let's put it that way, updates that they're going to be doing as part of minor events, but eventually also as part of their next major patch which will be happening in December. If you watch one of my most recent videos, I spoke about the October roadmap that we are going to be getting for Monster Hunter Now. A lot of new things are coming, a couple of new monsters that were teased, and one that was full out revealed with Pink Rathian. But now we're actually going to get into the nitty-gritty things that have been found in the game's file, things that Niantic certainly doesn't want people to know about because they might ruin the excitement to some. I don't necessarily know their logic behind all of that. So I'm going to try to lay the foundation and set the table here with all of the information, and then we can get down into the business of what was actually found within. So first and foremost, we know that a lot of information through the Tokyo Game Show developer interviews that were held with Niantic. Capcom wasn't necessarily part of those developer interviews. We basically got the confirmation as part of the teaser that Zinogre will be part of one of the monsters that is revealed or fully integrated into the game as part of the December update, a Halloween update, which we spoke about just a few days ago. That was some of the things that came out of Tokyo Game Show, and that elders and other new monsters alongside new weapons will be making their way into the game as well. That was pretty much all the Tokyo Game Show information that we got to see through the developer interviews. I'm going to be leaving a link in the description below for, I believe it was Agria's article on this. You can check them out. They're doing amazing work covering Monster Hunter Now and some of the information being revealed there within. One of their more recent sets of information, though, comes directly from a user called MH_Datamine. I believe they are part of Knitter.net. I believe this is some like Twitter knockoff, X knockoff type, social media page. But the thing here is that this user basically began to post a lot of stuff found within the game's files. This has been going on for probably about a couple of weeks by now, and a lot of people didn't necessarily pay too much attention to it until he just recently got copyright strike by Niantic. So because Niantic basically doesn't want this information out there, that basically confirms 100% his legitimacy, and we now can actually move forward with discussing what it is that they were talking about. I am not going to be showcasing any of the images that were originally available through his pages. Not only those are his assets, or at the very least information that he found, so you guys can look those up somewhere else. And I also don't want Niantic to come after me, so of course I do not want to share any of that information, but I am going to be leaving a link in the description below for his official page, and also the Agria article that kind of covers most of the information here. Second thing that I also want to quickly mention is that weapons and regarding new things when it comes to abilities and skills, I'm going to be talking about that in the subsequent following video after this, so we're just going to focus on monsters for now. So with all that table setting out of the way, and I know that was a lot of information there, but I just want to be as clear and as thorough as possible, we can now begin to talk about what new monsters are going to be part of this major set of reveals, and pretty much a lot of things that are going to be making their way into the game. And as of right now, we basically know that there's going to be 15 new monsters making their way into the game, two of which are smaller monsters, Wolg and Kordos. I believe the Wolgs are the little lion wolf looking monsters that were available in Monster Hunter World. Kordos are some type of flying type creatures that were also available in Monster Hunter World, I believe, or Iceborne at the very least. I believe these kind of suggest that there's going to be more ice themed map areas being added into the game or something along those lines. More such species appearing maybe in the cold climates as we make our way into the winter. That's just my guess regarding that, but I don't necessarily know. But that's just two of the smaller monsters that are going to be part of this entire set of updates. Now, the first official monster that was found within the game's files themselves, and one that we already actually got to see in the game, is of course Black Diablos. This was part of the Diablos infestation investigation event, I believe. It was about 2 weeks ago or so when we had that. This was heading into Tokyo Game Show, and Black Diablos was just specifically part of that event, but eventually it will be making its way into the game's monster normal rotation. I don't believe it's currently available in that regard, but it seems to be like it's just going to become one of those normal monsters you can easily find there within. The second monster is also worth mentioning here is Pink Rathian. If this is the first time you're hearing about Pink Rathian in Monster Hunter Now, well, we spoke about it in my previous video where it's part of the October lineup of monsters. I believe the second week of October, you're going to start being able to get, I believe it was the week of October 9th through the 13th, I want to say, if I'm remembering correctly. That week, Rathian and Pink Rathian are going to start appearing more commonly throughout 1 star through level 9 or level 10 stars, and then level 11 stars throughout the weekend of the 13th through the 15th, if I'm getting those dates right. So you guys should be able to watch that video. I'm going to be leaving a link in the description below if you didn't watch it. But essentially, Pink Rathian is going to be part of this specific event, just like Black Diablos was, and we presume that within a couple of weeks or so, it's just going to become a part of the normal rotation of all the monsters being added in there. Now, as far as actual monsters that we haven't necessarily seen before, a couple of these leaked already before, but it's worth re-mentioning. Azure Rathalos is another monster that's going to be part of a specific event. This one is expected to be part of a, I believe, November event as well. Like we continue to make our way through kind of like such species being added into the game. The same, or presumably cannot be said regarding Silver Rathalos as well. They're not going to do an event with 2 Rathalos at the same time, or neither they're going to add 2 Rathalos at the same time. We presume Azure Rathalos goes first, Silver Rathalos follows soon thereafter, or maybe they just wait for the December event. A lot of these don't necessarily seem to have a timetable because, again, when they're going to be released or officially revealed by Niantic, we don't necessarily know, but we do expect them to kind of be like close to each other in that regard. Another one of the monsters that we do expect to see kind of being added there is also Zinogre. This one was, of course, the one teased as part of the event through the entire presentation for Monster Hunter Now. And this one we do expect them to kind of hold for the big December patch, which is about 2 months from now at this point. So you're going to be waiting a little bit of a while for this one, since Zinogre is going to be considered something of a staple monster at the very least in their specific rotation. Now, one of the monsters that was teased for the October event, they basically said, if I remember correctly, their specific wording was, Kuluyaku looks a little bit different, more than usual, for the Halloween-themed event. They were actually referring to Tsitsiyaku, I believe is what this one is. This is that flashing monster was introduced in Monster Hunter World. We expect this one to be part of the Halloween event based on the information that we have right now. And this actually even renders of the armor set and all of that. Again, I'm not going to be showcasing any of that. I don't want Niantic to come after me, but that is what we're expecting the monster to be as part of the Halloween event. And if you have been kind of like piecing together essentially what these monsters are, a lot of the monsters that you're going to be seeing as part of this lineup, especially some of the ones that I'm going to be talking about next, are all Monster Hunter World monsters. So it seems to me like they are just basically dead set on porting over all of the work that they did for Monster Hunter World and bring it over to Monster Hunter Now. That seems to be their roadmap going forward. Just bring over whatever it is that they were able to get there. Anything that's appeared in Rise or Sunbreak, at the very least, rendered in those assets, doesn't necessarily seem to be making the cut this time around, at the very least for right now. And that comes because we basically know now that Bombaro is going to be another one of those monsters making their way as part of, we expect this to be a December update monster. We don't expect it to be part of these kind of like weekly or slowly roll out monsters. Actually, all of the ones that I'm going to be talking about next, we all expect them to be part of this December wave of updates. Whether they drop all of them together at once, whether they roll them out slowly, we don't necessarily know, but they're going to be post-December monsters, and Bombaro is going to be another one of them. Another one of those cold-based monsters as well So it does make me think that they're going to be doing something winter related at the very least. Another one following suit after that will be Barriath. Barriath, interestingly enough, did not necessarily make the original cut for the launch of the game, and now we know that they're going to be adding it in post-launch. This one is interesting because it has been a relatively old monster from, I believe, Gen 2 or Gen 3. So it has been popular for quite a while, and they just decided to kind of like add it alongside Sinogre as well. No Nargacuga, I will say that. We haven't, seen that one being added in as of right now for sure. And honestly, Barriath to me probably would be one of those monsters that gave me to kind of jump into the game again and see what this is all about. Now, one of the really interesting ones that has been found in the game's file so far is Radobon. This is a monster that first made its appearance in Monster Hunter World, and we are now seeing it make its appearance again in Monster Hunter Now, the second official game that has basically made its way into. Of course, it was an Iceborne, but that was just an expansion of World. So officially, Radobon's second game is going to be Monster Hunter Now, and because of this monster's unique traversal, it's going to be really interesting to see them how they're going to basically make it available in game, whether it's still going to be doing that or it's just going to be a random monster you kind of fight. Does it still roll around in the middle of combat? I mean, that's just going to be crazy to see the way that they decide to handle it. Another one that's going to be really interesting to see how they handle is Lavaisoft or Lavaisoft. I don't necessarily know how people pronounce this one because it's not one of those popular monsters. It's the water lava fish. It's one of those fish monsters that a lot of people don't necessarily care about all that much. And the mudfish is already, of course, in the game. And this one, the fire mudfish, is just going to be making its way into the game as well. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say, that's my favorite monster or anything like that. I don't even think these fish monsters are all that interesting at the end of the day. But I'm not going to try to mess on it too much. At the end of the day, it is just another new addition, another such species as well. So it'll be interesting to see just mechanically how they decide to handle it, once they add it into the game. Again, we presume this one to be another December update monster as well. Moving forward to the last normal monster worth mentioning here is Coral Puke Puke. Of course, Puke Puke is already part of the game, but Coral, the such species from World and Iceborne, of course, now making his way into this one. And just like Radobon and a couple of Bombero as well, these monsters have only ever been available in World and Iceborne, and now they're becoming available in Now. So it does make me think that they're going to be, at the very least, monsters that we see in this version of the game, but whatever Gen 6 ends up being, probably will become... These monsters probably won't be coming to that version because kind of like Pokemon, and this is one of the talking points that I kind of want to tackle in another video, and I don't want to really talk about it here, but it does make me wonder that same idea that the Pokemon developers have, where they're putting some Pokemons in one game and saving others for the next game. If Capcom, now that they have such a massive backlog of monsters, will they be willing to save some for the next game to keep people excited for that, instead of putting them in every single game? Now, the last two monsters certainly worth talking about here are two Elder Dragons. Now, if you thought, Radobons, Lavaisoths, or, some of these other monsters, traversal, being interesting in the way that they're handling it, or their way that they presumably are going to handle it for Monster Hunter Now, the way they're going to handle Elders in this game is going to be extremely interesting. These two probably are going to be part of the December update. I presume one of them is going to be post-December because they're not going to drop two Elders at the same time, but we now seem to believe that Xenojiva, or Xenojiva, depending on your pronunciation, is going to be the first one that we do end up seeing added as part of the December update. Remember, this monster is massive, it's stationary, it has its own arena. It is one of those monsters that you don't necessarily see moving around in the world. It's going to be interesting if they handle it in a raid type scenario or whatever they choose to do. But yeah, this one is going to be really interesting because just the sheer massive of just such a colossal fight that it is. And alongside that, Jiva, which again, the way you choose to pronounce it, the juvenile version of Xenojiva or Xenojiva, are also going to be making an appearance there as well. Whatever the order in which that they choose to do them in, I presume Xeno is going to be the first one that you see first, or maybe Safi. I don't necessarily know. I don't quite remember the way that they did them in World, but at the end of the day, both of these are going to be added in post-December launch, and it does finally bring Elder Dragons into the fold, which is something that we knew based on some conversations like I spoke at the top of the video. Developers were talking about adding things in. When it came to Elders, you wouldn't have, I believe the specific quote was, you wouldn't have a Monster Hunter game without Elder Dragons. I believe the specific developer from Niantic's quote was. So therefore, of course, we're going to add them. It was just a matter of time. It's just interesting that they decided to do these two. Of course, you can't have one without the other, but the way that they handle them, presumably arena-wise, is going to be something very interesting. So once again, first and foremost, huge shout out to mh_dataminer for this information, and of course Ogria.net, link in the description below for both of those huge assets. Huge shout outs to them for providing these details, and of course massive list of monsters coming, some of which are going to be their own kind of smaller events, like we know Pink Rathian will be within the next week or so. Tsiyaku is going to be blinding everyone around Halloween or so, and soon after that we presume Azure Rathalos or Silver Rathalos, one of those two or maybe both, in November, as we make our way to December, where a massive patch is going to be dropping with hopefully the rest of these guys. But that's about all the information that I have for you guys today. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.